Fight University Episode 2, going over UFC 212, just took place last night on June the 3rd. For a card that did not have many big names in it, it performed pretty well for the most part.
Was not disappointing. Not disappointed at all, for sure. The first fight on the prelim card, Brian Keller versus Iri Alcantara. That was Keller's first venture into the UFC, and he showed out pretty well against top-notch competition in Alcantara. Ended up submitting a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on his first go-around in the UFC, so that's pretty impressive if you ask me.
In Brazil.
Let's add that. In Brazil as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one. That was an awesome fight. He actually wins $50,000 performance of the night bonus on that one. Brian Kelleher looked real good doing it as well. And, Iri Alcantara goes for the takedown kind of late into the first round. Leaves his neck exposed a little bit, kind of falls into it, and Brian Kelleher just wraps that up real quick. And, must have been real tight because Iri tapped right away. And,
he wasted no time on the tap.
Yeah, that was real good performance from Brian Kelleher in his UFC debut. A lot of times, people get those UFC octagon jitters, and especially going to a different country, this guy's home country. Everyone's chanting
way away from home.
Everyone's chanting "You're gonna die," and you
Brazil
kick off.
Has to be the worst place to go like that.
And
fight their competition.
You're kicking off the prelims too. That's a lot of pressure on you. So, but he performed real well. It was a real good fight. Another guy that I was impressed with was Antonio Carlos Jr.
Shoeface.
Yeah, he looked real good against Eric Spicely. Both of those guys, it was sick grappling the whole time.
Leg locks for the whole first round, just attacking the legs the entire time, both of them.
Yeah,
those dudes were just going at it on the ground constantly.
Yeah, the fight was really good. Eventually, Antonio Carlos Jr. ends up getting the back. Almost takes him in the first round. Eric Spicely gets out, ends up going to the second. Carlos Jr. ends up getting, the rear naked choke in the second round. Taps him out, with 3:49 remaining. Really good show of grappling, though. Just slick-ass transitions. Very good, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, both guys were killing it on the ground, even Spicely. Next fight we got is the Ascensao Moraes fight. Morales is how you say his name?
Marlon Moraes. That was a great fight. No easy competition for Moraes on his first UFC debut. Ascensao is definitely one bad mofo for sure. Those two dudes, that was a great fight. And let's comment on how jacked Moraes looked as well. That dude was looking good. So Rafael came out and got the decision win on that one. He looked great. Both men stand up amazing. And Rafael he just pulled out on it, I guess. That's really one of those fights where it really could have gone either way at the end of it, in my opinion. Yeah, I thought it was real close. I actually gave the fight to Marlon, but I could see it going either way. It was a real close fight. I gave rounds 1 and 3 to Marlon. I gave rounds 2 to Rafael Assunção. Assunção dropped him with an overhand in the beginning of the third, but real quick, right away, Marlon got up. I think that's why the decision, a lot of the judges ended up, favoring him. Somehow, it was a 28-29, 29-28, and a 30-27. I don't know who scored it 30-27, but, that judge.
Somebody was drinking a little bit before the match.
Yeah, that guy's not paying attention. That's ridiculous.
I hate the refs sometimes. The judges. They can. Some of these dudes are just terrible.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on sometimes, but Marlon came out, super strong in the first. I think he'd been probably a better showcase for his skills and a better showcase to help promote him along this if the UFC necessarily didn't put him with someone like Rafael Assunção in his first fight. But I guess going to Brazil, you need to try to get more Brazilians and try to get that market down there. But I think they're not doing him any favors by starting him off
Definitely
against
not.
number 3 in the bantamweight division. Guy just coming off strong performances in his last few fights.
But Marlon Moraes, hasn't lost in a few years, so I guess give him, some stiff competition right away. See, if he sinks or swims. I mean, I thought he did real well against Rafael Sansao, especially, his UFC debut as well.
They both guys look great. Marlon was from World Series of Fighting. You just don't get the best competition in other organizations like that. So when you come to the UFC, they're like they say, we keep saying stiff competition, but there's no easy fights when you get in the UFC. Everybody is, for the most part, is top notch. So, I think Marlon will do well in the UFC. I think once he gets comfortable and gets a couple wins in the octagon under his belt, I think this guy's gonna be nasty.
Yeah, he's training partners with Edson Barboza, Frankie Edgar, trains under Mark Henry.
He looks a lot like Edson Barboza when he fights too. You can definitely see very, very similar traits in the way they do their stand up.
Yeah, he's real explosive. Definitely got some awesome kicks. Loves to threw a bunch of sick, high kicks in this fight. Almost got Rafael a few times. Nothing too clean though. But very good performance in his UFC debut. All things considered, I think it was a pretty close fight, and I think a lot of people give it to him. He'll bounce back from this, and I think he'll continue to do well in the bantamweight division of the UFC.
I wouldn't sweat it if I were him.
Yeah. Next fight that was a real good one on the card was the actual Eric Silva versus Yancy Medeiros fight. Eric Silva come back, had some on and off wins and losses in his last few years. Hasn't done as well since, really, to be honest, since USADA's been around.
Dun 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 dun.
I mean, definitely, when he came through to the UFC, he was touted as that next guy, and had some awesome performances, real good fights. Hasn't looked as great as of late, but he did look real good in this fight.
Yeah, him and Yancy, those two dudes banged it out for sure. Yancy Medeiros, that he's trains with Max Holloway, 2-0 for the Hawaiians tonight. But those guys, they went out and they banged it out. And then Yancy, caught him with a right hand, and then that left hook just dropped him. And once he hit the ground, that boy was on top of him. Questionable call, maybe. It's one of those things, Eric wasn't really defending himself well. Both Yancy even said in his post-fight interview that he thought Eric could continue to fight. But, it is what it is. He was getting pounded on, and, when you just lay there and you're getting hit in the side of the head or in the back of the head and you're not moving around, there's not too much the ref can do except for pull him off. So it is what it is, and, Yancy walks away with a good win, and like I said, 2-0 for the Hawaiians tonight.
Yeah, he looked pretty good in the fight, and dropped him out of nowhere in the second, and just took over right from then. Definitely, I thought the fight could have gone on a little bit longer, but it is what it is. The refs are there for to look after you, so I guess got to give it to that. But they're both fighters. He's in there trying to win, and I think he could have left it a little bit longer. But if he did, I think Yancy would have just stayed on top and continued to finish him.
More ground and pound. Yeah. And Yancy seems like a really, really cool dude too. He seems like someone he really has that Hawaiian spirit about him, the aloha spirit for sure. So good for Yancy. I'm glad he got the win.
All those Hawaiians, they seem to be pretty chill guys. Him and Max seem to be pretty cool guys to hang out with. That'd be cool.
Right, train with those guys. That would be fun.
Let's see. Borachinia versus Bangboze was next.
That's a mouthful right there.
Two super jacked, crazy named middleweights.
Super jacked. Can we emphasize that? Super jacked. These guys are huge for middleweights. I couldn't believe it.
They, I guess somehow they pissed that smell test from USADA.
They got the good stuff.
They passed it somehow, but Bangboze came out super hard in the first.
Like a freight train.
Gassed pretty early, really within a couple minutes.
Scary.
Borachinia ended up getting some good punches against the fence, got a lot of body work on him, tired him even more.
Softened him up. Softened him up nice.
Second round, he came out, and, Bangboze was exhausted. He throws a kick, slips a little bit. Paulo gets on top, lands some punches.
There was no getting that man off top of him once he fell to the ground. Paulo was on him like white on rice.
Yeah, he finished him off pretty quickly, and ref called it. It was a good stoppage. The fight was just going to get a whole lot worse from Barboza at that point. He was exhausted. He didn't have any way to defend himself. Really shocked that it actually went outside of the first round, to be honest. Not going to lie.
The way that dude came out so strong, man. He really did have the spirit of God in him. He was God's angel warrior or whatever, for sure. He came out strong. Now the only decision on the card, Vitor and Nate, man, that was a great fight. Yeah, only decision on the main card. Right. Yeah, I was glad to see Vitor get the decision. I thought it was a great fight. You're getting a good one when Nate Marquardt comes out. He always brings it every single time, and then Vitor is just classic. So you can't really go wrong with that bout. I am interested to see how many fights Vitor is going to have now, because he said in his post-fight interview he's going to have 5 more fights. Yeah, when everybody thought this was the last one.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that, if he knew what he was doing or what was going on. But there was reports last week that this is his last UFC fight, this is his last MMA fight, this is and then he comes out and says no, he plans on staying with the UFC and he's got 5 more fights. And so I don't know if he really knows where he's at or what's going on.
He must have just been hyped on the win. I don't know.
He went out to TriStar, train with Ross, this training camp, and he looked all right for the most part. Tried to focus on countering. Definitely was focusing on saving his energy. Didn't want to gas himself, which has been a problem in his last few fights. He's got that initial crazy burst, but then once he gasses, he's just easy to take down and finish, and
keeps his hands low.
Nate took him down in the first, and wasn't able to take him down. Didn't really go for many takedowns after that, but controlled him in the first. And Vitor kind of took over, waited for the counters after that, and looked pretty decent for 40 years old and a guy who's definitely not on TRT at the moment.
Maybe he really likes it up there at TriStar, and that's why he wants to continue fighting.
I don't know. Maybe so. Who knows? But
it threw me off. Yeah, when I saw Faraz in his corner, I was like, "Whoa, what is going on here?"
Yeah, switched some things up. He's been in South Florida and Brazil most of his career, but.
Change is always a good thing. And Faraz, you're going up there with Faraz Sahabi. That is, he's the GOAT. So that's not a bad move at all.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those top coaches that, if people are searching for something, there's not really a whole lot of those super camps kind of thing. I feel like you got like American Top Teams, real big one. You got Jackson Wink and
Black
Faraz
coming back.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Black Zillions are no more apparently.
Yeah, right.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens in his next fights. I guess he apparently has 5 more fights he claims now on his contract. I don't know where he goes from here. Don't think he really stands a chance at contending for the belt again, especially at his age and
not with the top level competition.
With his endocrine system the way it is, but yeah, especially with middleweight being as stacked as it is at the top right now. I know it's all backed up with the whole Bisping situation, but thank God we have the Robert Whitaker and Yoel Romero fight that's booked.
I cannot wait for that one. That is going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's weird that interim fights are a common thing nowadays. We're just getting left and right, but I like the fight at least. Shit, I'll take it and bring a little normalcy to the division again.
Rather have that than Michael Bisping blocking the whole thing up.
Well, it's just going to be weird to see what they do afterwards, because Bisping's still talking about GSP and GSP's still talking about Bisping, but if they're doing the interim fight, you can't sit here and have Bisping do GSP still. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you can't, how are you going to have an interim champion when a champion's going to go defend the belt against someone else? That doesn't work like that.
Or you make it a non-championship fight. Was pointing that for GSP.
Yeah, who knows where what happens here? The UFC is just kind of in a clusterfuck at this point since WME has taken over. It's been a little weird, going for just kind of screwing the rankings and saying whatever, we'll go for these big fights if we can. And Bisping versus GSP. Bisping wants it. GSP wants it. We'll see what happens. But
I say GSP says fuck Bisping. Bisping fights the winner of the interim title, and GSP and Nick Diaz go at it. That's the fight I'm calling for.
I think everyone wants Diaz to come out too, but Diaz is waiting for that super big payday.
That's the super money fight, him and GSP.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes to fruition.
There are dollar signs behind that fight right there. There's no way there's not.
Every time the Diaz brothers fight, there's big money. They got big fans behind them. That's the best right there. The 209 crew. That's the scrap pack.
Stockton.
Let's go. Let's go to the next fight. Let's see. Claudia Gadelha versus Karolina Kalvokovic.
You did a better job than I.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I don't speak Polish very well, so that's just my attempt. I probably butchered it, but I'm sorry.
With an axe.
But man, I thought last week when we talked about this fight that Claudio was going to have the upper hand, having it be a 3-round fight. Sorry. But shit, she didn't need those 3 rounds even. Yeah. She came out super strong and just took her down, controlled her, and Karolina went to give up her back pretty much to try to roll over, and just got caught real quick. Yeah. Claudia came out and got that rear naked choke and finished her shit. Within the first couple minutes of the fight.
I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. I wanted Karolina to win so bad. I had my blinders on, and when Claudia sunk that rear naked in, I was in disbelief. I was like, it can't happen right now. It cannot be this quickly. This fight cannot be over this fast. But that's how it goes in the fight game.
I mean, I think Claudia's a clear number 2 right there at strawweight. I mean,
next to Joanna.
Yeah, next to Joanna. I think Joanna is definitely the number 1, and Claudia's clear number 2. But man, I would have liked to see that fight go a little longer. I think Karolina, there's a lot more potential in her. I think that it would have been a lot better fight, had it gone on just to maybe even to the second round. We would have seen a little bit more out of her. She tends to start kind of slow and, works her way up. A lot of those Muay Thai fighters with that background, people, she's got a lot of Muay Thai fights in her background. A lot of those guys start out a little slower. But Claudia came out hard and showed that she's the top dog right there at strawweight, right behind Joanna. And I think it's a little early to give her another title shot. Some people are saying that Karolina is saying Rose doesn't deserve the fight because she just beat Rose, but she was gifted a title shot and couldn't win it. So that's kind of how it works. You give the next in line, and strawweight's really not that deep. So
on to the next one.
You got to do something, and I don't think Rose is really ready, maybe for Joanna Jędrzejczyk, but I don't think anyone in that division is really ready for Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Who is ready for Joanna? That's
Claudia put up some real good fights. She did. She's a badass, and
you're getting up there when you can change your last name to Champion.
Yeah.
Joanna Champion.
I think it's just easier for everyone to pronounce that than her last name. But she's a beast. Yeah, I mean, so Claudia looked really good in this fight. Though this is definitely one of her best performances, and she's maybe her versus Rose even might be the next fight to make, but I don't know if
a good one. That one hadn't popped in my mind.
I don't know if Joanna Jędrzejczyk wants to wait though. So I think if you want to keep her active and keep her busy, you give her Rose. Don't think it's I think it's maybe a little early in Rose's career for it. This will be her second title fight actually, but I think Joanna Jędrzejczyk's a little too dominant right now, and it's her time. But I think Rose is still young, and I think she'll end up maybe becoming the champion of that division one day. I think just not right at this moment.
Yeah, she's only, 24, 25 years old, so she's got plenty of time to develop. But yeah, Joanna right now, I don't see anybody touching her. That chick is a freak. I mean, she's just got hands from hell. There's nothing like you can, I don't think anybody's on her level right now.
Let's see. On to the main event. Oh my God, this
drum
fight!
Roll, please.
This fight was sick. This fight, everyone has been waiting for it for such a long time, and it performed. It did not, doesn't go without saying this fight was one of the best ones of the year for sure.
If not the most entertaining fight of the year so far.
Definitely one of the best fights for sure. The very first round started off a little slow. Both of the guys a little tight, a little tense, trying to feel each other, see what each other brings to the table.
I definitely gave the first round to Jose.
Jose definitely won the first round. He had a few good exchanges. That left hook to the right hand through.
Yeah, he had Holloway rocked in the first round.
Yeah, a little bit.
That was the first
He backed him
round.
up a little bit, got him on
Right.
the fence. Through a knee too. Had a couple good exchanges. Definitely won the first round, controlled the pace. They're both, you could obviously tell, trying to kind of feel each other out and see what's going on, get each other's timing and distance down. Max Holloway didn't really switch stances a whole lot in this fight either. His last few fights, been switching stances and looking real good at southpaw. Came out orthodox this whole fight for the most part. I think really the whole time actually,
Yeah.
and pretty much dominated that way. Kept it real classic, real simple. Simple jab crosses.
And Jose, he was boxing with him.
Yeah,
those dudes were boxing it out.
Max looked real good in the first. He was losing. Trying to get. He got caught a few times. That's for sure. The second he started to loosen up a little bit. Second round, comes out. Jose Aldo's. I think he threw a few low kicks in the fight. Not nearly enough.
None in the first round.
Everyone was questioning why he wasn't throwing any low kicks. I know he threw maybe one or two. Really, I think the whole fight. One reason,
which is so odd. Odd.
One reason, you'd assume, him not doing that against the wrestlers that he's fought in the past, but I think he had even come out and said that he wanted to throw more low kicks against Holloway. Holloway being a striker, and Jose feeling confident in his ground game.
Yeah, Max Holloway is not shooting for takedowns too often.
Yeah, Holloway's
that
all.
dude likes to stand and bang.
Yeah, Holloway's all about trying to stand there and fight, make it a real entertaining brawl with you guys. But he likes to, both the guys kind of like to fight on the counter more.
I was loving it at the end of the second there when Max started taunting him, doing the Nate Diaz stuff, sticking his hands in the air and slapping Aldo. Oh, I love it. I loved it.
Last minute of the second round, Max started to definitely get into a little rhythm, feeling himself a little more, and started doing the Diaz brothers and taunting him, stalked and slapping Jose Aldo, and definitely started to get a little loose, trying to get Jose to commit a little, into a little mid and look for the counters, which Holloway's real strong at.
Yeah, right there at the end of the second is where you could tell that Max really got into his rhythm and got into his groove, and like I said, he turned it into a brawl. That's his style fight. He loves to just throw down, like at the end with Ricardo Lamos pointing at the ground, and those two dudes just going at it. So if you're trying to brawl, that is definitely Max Holloway's territory, and he brought that momentum with him over into the third round. And just, I was so impressed with that dude. And like you said, the simplicity behind it. Just a 1-2, 1-2.
Yeah, I actually thought that Jose Aldo won the first two rounds, and I thought Max Holloway had the momentum going into the third, and, you saw the tide start to turn a little bit, but I thought Jose Aldo came away those first two rounds. Right away in the third, though, you see Max just staying in his face, bringing that pressure,
putting it on him the whole time.
keeping maintaining that distance and that range, and working simple shots, 1-2, 1-2, coming in and out, working that range. And one thing I noticed in the very beginning of the fight too is that Jose Aldo is keeping his chin up very high every time that he would pivot off that foot. Max Holloway would rush in and maybe land one or two shots maybe on Jose, and Jose would pivot out.
Try to circle out.
Circle to Max's left side, and he kept his chin real high many times. And I kept saying to myself and to Connor that it's gonna be another Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman moment if something if he keeps doing this where he circles out and just gets clipped with that hook. But it wasn't the hook that finished him. He got caught with a quick 1-2, and then Holloway bounced back with another 1-2 right away.
And that final two had the sauce on it.
That second right hand just hit him hard, clipped him hard, and Aldo dropped, and Holloway just took advantage of that and jumped all over him.
And shouts to the champion that Jose Aldo is, because even when he was rocked on the ground like that, that man was still putting up a fight. I mean, just resilient to the ground and pound. I mean, he was not giving it up to Holloway whatsoever. Max worked for every single bit of that win that he got, for sure.
Yeah, I think Aldo was maybe even a little upset at the stoppage, but I totally agree with the stoppage is fine.
Yeah, he was just getting banged.
You can't ball up at the end there and get 30 unanswered shots to your head when you're not moving and not do anything about it.
It doesn't matter if you're saying I'm good. It's about what you're actually doing.
But it was impressive when Holloway rocked him and Aldo tried everything he could to get back to his composure and get the fight back to where it was at, where he needed to be at least. And props to that. He's a warrior and he tried to fight through it. And that's the first time we've ever seen him, minus the McGregor fight, of course, but exposed in a fight where it was a real fight. He's had those moments in Chad Mendez. The second Chad Mendez fight was the first time we'd seen him, dropped and exposed in that way, kind of. But really to the point where, he recovered real quick in that fight and was right back at it and right back in Mendez's face. Holloway, comes out in the third, kind of controls the pace and shows him that, he's just getting warmed up. This fight's just getting started. And I don't think Jose Aldo expected that. And I think, Holloway knew how to work that range and work that distance and, was just able to finish him off. And his striking looked just absolutely beautiful in that third round. He was able to work the body a little bit more, too, throughout the fight.
And dude, Jose, to add on to Max Holloway, Jose Aldo looked fantastic. I mean, the dude looked in great shape, super jacked, was super fast. I mean, his hands were flying. So, I mean, that just goes to show that Max Holloway is one bad motherfucker for sure.
Dude, Holloway's a beast, and he's only 25. He's on a 11-fight win streak.
Super young.
He's sitting up there with names like GSP, Anderson Silva, John Jones for longest win streaks right now. I mean, this dude's got nowhere else to go but up, and he's at the moment I think got most of the featherweight records, as far as win streaks and performance bonuses and finishes and things of that nature. I think he's got a lot of the records there at featherweight now.
And his only UFC loss is to McGregor. Right?
No. He's had a couple losses.
In UFC though, I'm saying in the UFC, does he? Oh,
yeah,
okay,
he does.
Okay,
he lost to Dustin Poirier, Dennis Bermudez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Dustin Poirier was his first loss.
Okay.
That was actually, I think he got that on short notice. He was like 20.
Wow, he's been in the UFC
23,
since
I think he was. 22.
2012. Sorry.
I don't remember. He was real young. Maybe it was like even 21. I don't remember how old he was, but he was real young and had his featherweight debut. I remember that on late notice.
Against Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, against Dustin Poirier, and ended up losing. But he's only gotten better since those fights for sure. That Conor McGregor loss was the last one,
and he looked great in that fight.
Since then, he's gone on a tear. What's next for him? I think probably Frankie Edgar makes most sense in my opinion. I know Frankie's had his share of title fights, but he's also former lightweight champion who was dominant for a while. Fought guys way bigger than himself, and
he looked great in his last fight against Yair.
Yeah, he's still fighting guys way bigger than himself and dominated Yair, and has really only stumbled at all against Jose Aldo. And it's just one of those things where styles make fights, and Aldo kind of had his number. And I think Holloway versus Frankie would be a super sick fight.
Yeah, the only other one that I can really think of, and it's already happened before, is the Cub Swanson fight, a rematch against Cub Swanson. But yeah. I think Cub might need one more fight in between there.
I know Cub's calling for it. Cub wants it.
But Cub is, that I think that would be a great rematch. I don't think that was Cub's best performance against Holloway the first time. And I'd really like to see them bring that back.
Yeah, Cub comes to bring it. That's one thing that's really, he's one of the most entertaining
fighters.
He's on
a 4 or 5 fight win streak. So he's definitely putting in work. So yeah. I'd be interested to see that. Maybe Edgar and Cub will go at it, and then they'll fight Holloway.
See, I just feel like you can't give him a title shot when his last fight though was against like Arnold Lobov, and it really wasn't.
a guy who's 50-50.
Yeah, dude, he brought it and stuff, and it was a very entertaining fight. But I mean, dude, that's not, Frankie just took
not
on
top level competition.
Yeah, Frankie just took on Yair Rodriguez and Jose Aldo, and top competition.
Yair's a freak. That kid's nasty.
Yair's young and stuff, and I wouldn't put him as top 3 or top 5 in the featherweight division, but he's gonna be in the future, that's for sure. I mean, he's
plenty of time
a
to
big
grow,
step up compared to Artem, so there's that.
Yeah, I'd put my money on Yair over Artem Lobov as well.
I'm really wondering where Aldo goes from here, though, because he talked about how once he won this fight, he wanted to make his own calls, kind of wanted to go up to lightweight. I kind of hope he goes up to lightweight. I think there's better fights from there.
Fights McGregor at lightweight?
No, definitely. I mean, he'll never, that fight's done. It's never going to happen again, but especially now. But
right,
it is what it is. That I'm sure that's pretty, shitty for him and disappointing. But I think if he goes up to lightweight, he doesn't have to struggle and continuing to make weight anymore. And I think there's a lot of good matchups for him at lightweight too. He's a big guy for the featherweight division. I think he'd do just fine probably at lightweight.
Yeah, that weight cut for Aldo, especially. Well, I keep saying he's old. He's not old. He's only 30. But he's just been in the game for so long that it seems like he's older than he is. But yeah, that weight cut is it looked in the embeddeds at least. It looks like it's
the weight cutting
on the dude.
The weight cutting will take its toll on you. Sometimes more than some of the fights themselves. I'm sure that's in a lot of his career. He dominated some of these fights. Especially early in his career, and he was really aggressive. And the weight cutting probably took more out of his health than the fights themselves did.
Right. Yeah, so maybe he'll go up to lightweight and save himself a little heartache between there, a little pain in the ass to cut all that weight. Yeah, but it sucks to see him lose, man, because he was a great champion.
Yeah, he looked real good. I mean, he looked really good in that fight too. That's the one thing. But I was glad that the fight went the way it did, just because it's a fresh breath of air in the featherweight division almost. Now we've got new matchups. We've
really switches shit up.
Yeah, I mean, Jose dominated for so many years, and it was just one of those things where okay, Jose Aldo is gonna fight him, and Jose is probably gonna win, and it's probably gonna go 5 rounds, and he's just gonna leg kick him and pick him apart, and it's gonna be that kind of fight, and which is nothing wrong with Jose Aldo's UFC career or anything, but early in his career, he was a lot more aggressive and a lot more entertaining. Later in his career, as of late, he's he only defends like once, maybe twice a year, and it's always nice to have active champions. When you've got champions fighting 3 times a year, kind of thing, you get to constantly see them. They're constantly in the spotlight. The sport's one of those sports where
as soon as you leave, you're unheard
the next
of.
Yeah, man, the next fight, it's always Max wins, who's the next fight, it's always about the next thing, and people are forgotten pretty quickly. You forget the last events once a new one comes along, so that's one of those things. We'll see what happens, but I'm glad Holloway won, because it opens up a lot of opportunities for the featherweight division.
Yeah, I'm glad Holloway got the W. He like I said, he just same as Yancey. Looks like a really cool Hawaiian dude with the aloha spirit. So it's nice to see guys like that, and a young guy with young kids. So he's going to be putting good for him, giving his kids a better life.
He deserves a big payday.
Right? Yeah. Let's see that guy make some millions next fight, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, good for him. I think that just about wraps up episode 2 of Fight University. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Connor.
And we're out.